This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Tuesday, December 29th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. We begin our broadcast in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa is reinstating a ban on alcohol sales and ordered the closure of all bars as a necessary step to control a resurgence of the coronavirus, including a new variant of the virus. During a televised address Monday night, Ramaphosa also announced residents will remain under a 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, meaning residents must be inside their home during that time. Medical and security workers are excluded from the curfew. Ramaphosa also said all indoor and outdoor gatherings will be prohibited for 14 days from midnight Monday, except for funerals and restaurants, museums, gyms, and casinos. Ramaphosa says anyone caught not wearing a mask in a public place would face a fine and a possible jail sentence. South Africa has recorded over 1 million coronavirus cases and nearly 27,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University data. Ramaphosa's announcement comes just days after a new, faster-spreading variant was confirmed to be present in the country. We get more details on South Africa's fight against COVID-19 from Francis Maguire.
South Africa's health ministry confirmed it had reached more than 1 million cases of coronavirus infections on Sunday. It came just days after the country, the worst hit in Africa, reported a new, faster-spreading variant of the virus. Several hospitals have reported wards overflowing with patients, while many health workers have cancelled vacations to tackle a huge influx of patients. The new variant is referred to as 501v2. Scientists tracking it say it appears to be focused in the south and southeast of the country. They also said it had dominated findings from samples collected since October. Local media reported authorities met on Sunday to decide if a tighter lockdown or stricter rules on public movement was needed. A point of concern is that it took just 9 days for South Africa to go from 900,000 reported cases up to 1 million. As of Sunday, 26,735 people had been reported to have died from the virus.
Francis Maguire of Reuters with that report. South African medical workers are worried about the collapse of the healthcare system amid surging infections of the coronavirus. Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu has more.
South Africa health workers are growing more anxious about the rising infections of the coronavirus cases in the country, which has been worsened by the fear over the new virus variant. They worry their hospitals will be overwhelmed if the surging trend continues. Local health officials say the new coronavirus variant is driving the second wave of infections in the country, with cases increasing sharply daily.
It is a genuine concern that we've got with the current rise in statistics, especially with this second surge, as it has already been declared. And one of our biggest concerns is the shortage of nurses, particularly, because we've already received reports and complaints of nursing 3 nurses being responsible for 9 ICU patients. And that's just the tip of an iceberg.
Rich Sisina, General Secretary for Young Nurses in Daba Trade Union, shares the same concern.
Our worry is that what we experienced during the first wave, we are still going to experience it. At some point, our hospitals, our wards were full to the rafters. We were putting patients on tents. What is going to happen now during the second wave, of which it is more dangerous and brutal compared to the first wave?
Observers are describing South Africa's public health system as broken.
Before COVID-19, we've been complaining about gross shortage of staff and gross shortage of material resources. There's no different. There's no new hospital that has been built. There's no new material that has been bought, even during this COVID.
And with the added weight and the surge, the numbers that are rising right now, the healthcare system is most likely going to collapse. And to make matters even worse, we are now in a festive season where we've got all the trauma cases that are increasing due to alcohol and all these other things.
In a statement, the South African Health Ministry is cautioning the government to review the current restrictions and reconsider further measures to suppress the spread of the pandemic, coupled with virus variant. Linor Moudou, VOA News, Washington.
The French government says a roadside bomb killed 3 of its soldiers Monday when their armored vehicle struck the explosive device in the Hombori region north of Mali. The soldiers were part of France's Operation Burkina mission, which is fighting an Islamist extremist insurgency in Africa's Sahel region. French Defense Minister Florence Parly says the soldiers were working as part of a 5,000 troop mission in an area where terrorist groups are attacking civilians and threatening the regional stability. French President Emmanuel Macron reiterated in a press statement the nation's determination to fight terrorism and praised the efforts of the soldiers in restoring peace and stability in the troubled region. Election officials are still counting the ballots in Niger on Tuesday, following Sunday's presidential election that is expected to result in the West African nation's first transfer of power between 2 democratically elected presidents. Results are expected in the coming days. To get more on what the main concerns were for the voters and why the elections is significant for the country, Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori spoke via Skype to Mahmoud Lalo, VOA House of Service reporter who has been in Niamey.
Voters in Niger were concerned more about issues of security, education, economy, and a host of other issues bedeviling Niger. There was also the concern of Hama Amadou, who was barred from contesting the election by the Constitutional Court as a result of criminal conviction regarding a baby trafficking scandal that happened in 2017. These were some of the issues that a lot of people were concerned about, especially looking at the fact that Hama is the major challenger to Bazoum, but then he was barred from contesting the election. That brought about a lot of fear of voter apathy on the part of the opposition, who people thought maybe they will not go out and vote. But then surprisingly last week or a week before the election, Hama Amadou came out and called on his supporters to go and vote for Mahama Usman, who is Bazoum's major challenger.
Mm-hmm. Now, some have said this election was very significant for the people of Niger. We know the history of Niger is a country that has experienced a lot of tumultuous political developments with military involvement, coups and so forth. So why is this election particularly significant?
It's significant because this will be the first time a democratically elected government will hand over power to another democratically elected government. Niger had 4 coups in the past, and there wasn't such an experience on the part of the politicians and even the people of Niger. They have never experienced anything that has to do with handing over power smoothly without any disruption from the military or whatsoever. But then this is historic. The 2020 election is historic in the sense that everything is going on smoothly. The election, people came out to vote. There was no issues of fear from of any backlash or any disruption from the military or what have you. So this is really a milestone for Nigerians who are seeing a smooth transition unfolding right before their eyes.
Mm-hmm. And given that the main opposition candidate, Amadou, was actually barred, despite the fact that he encourages supporters to support the other opposition candidate, is there any doubt really who's going to win this election?
A lot of people, or a lot of attention is being directed at Bazoum, the ruling candidate, the PND's candidate ruling party, because he's a close ally to the current president, Mahamadou Issoufou, who is finishing his 2-year, 5 times in April. So people think that Bazoum coming in after Issoufou is just a continuation of Issoufou's government. This is like a designated successor for him. So a lot of people believe that Bazoum is going to be the winner at the end of the day. But then let's not forget the fact that Hama Amadou, who is the major challenger, like I did mention, has asked his supporters to vote for Mahama Osman, who is going to make a tough fight for Bazoum.
And as per the electoral laws of the land, when can we expect the election results?
Well, according to Niger's electoral laws, that is the Independent National Electoral Commission, the result must be compiled within 5 days. This has to go through tallying all the election results from 25,000 polling units across the country within 5 days, of course. After this compilation, the Electoral Commission will then send the results to the Constitutional Court for validation. That is how the process is. The Constitutional Court has 2 weeks to also make the result public. That is official to Nigerians who went out on the 27th of December to choose a new leader.
That was Mahmoud Lalo of VOA Hausa Service speaking to Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori. At his swearing-in ceremony on Monday, Burkina Faso President Roch Marc Kabore vowed to unite the West African nation torn by violent Islamist militant attacks as he embarks on his second and final 5-year term. Kabore won the November 22nd presidential election with nearly 58% of the vote. Burkina Faso was once a stable country in the turbulent Sahel region, but the landlocked nation has been drawn into a violent security crisis during much of Kabore's first term. Islamist insurgents with links to the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State terrorist groups have killed more than 2,000 people in attacks this year in Burkina Faso, and nearly 1 million people have been displaced, according to Reuters. Ethnic and religious tensions fueled by the militant attacks are increasing, disrupting life in once peaceful communities. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, how some in Nigeria are spreading holiday joy while taking precautions against COVID-19. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa 54. More now on COVID-19. Earlier this year, Russia claimed victory in the global race for a vaccine against the coronavirus. But as Charles Mains reports from Moscow, the Kremlin's new challenge is the vaccine's rollout and convincing Russians the drug is both safe and effective.
On the front line of Russia's battle against COVID-19, one shot at a time. Meet Sputnik 5, the world's first approved vaccine, claim Russian officials, with an over 90% efficacy rate against the coronavirus. Early recipients say they've come to send a broader message.
By our example, we show others that this vaccine is necessary, and we're among the first.
With Russia facing over 3 million infections and 50,000 dead from the virus, President Vladimir Putin has ordered a voluntary nationwide vaccination program. First doses have gone out to medical and other frontline workers at highest risk of exposure. Next up, Russians over the age of 60, a group that will include the Russian leader, as more and more Russians join an estimated 300,000 inoculated thus far.
The history of medicine teaches us that thanks to mass vaccinations, we've beaten most serious infections, and today is no exception. The faster people vaccinate, the faster we'll be okay.
But some question whether the race to market reflects more politics than science. The vaccine's developers claim victory over Western counterparts well before starting standard stage 3 trials, note critics.
Maybe it will all work out okay, but when we started talking about how we did something faster and ahead of everyone else in the world, that's when I got concerned.
Recent polls show the public divided over the vaccine.
I won't take it. Why? Because many in the country don't trust it.
Of course I'll take the vaccine so that my family, friends, and colleagues are all safe and healthy.
Those who think their health is important will take it. Those who don't, well, there's nothing you can do to change their mind.
Among lingering questions, Russia's ability to produce and distribute tens of millions of doses, shifting health guidance over how long to abstain from alcohol before and after vaccination has also slowed rollout ahead of the New Year holidays. Yet this month, British drug maker AstraZeneca agreed to partner with Russia to improve efficacy of its own vaccine. It's an important vote of confidence, one the Kremlin hopes will convince growing numbers of Russians that when it comes to protecting themselves from the coronavirus, Sputnik V may be their best shot. Charles Maines for VOA News, Moscow.
A third COVID-19 lockdown is underway in Israel after virus rates rose sharply in recent weeks. The country is headed toward a fourth election in 2 years after the latest coalition government imploded. But Israel seems to be having success with its rollout of vaccine and now leads the world in the number of vaccines per capita. Linda Grantstein has more from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was first, getting the vaccine live on primetime Israeli television, followed by senior Israeli officials.
I thought it was important to set a personal example so all Israelis would go and vaccinate themselves, because I think that if we do this together, we'll beat the corona, and sooner than people expect.
Israel quickly rolled out its vaccination campaign with more than 250,000 Israelis vaccinated in the first week. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Israel will be the first country to eradicate COVID-19, a goal public health officials say is possible.
The reason Israel can do that is because Israel has a very, very sound public healthcare system. Our system is basically public, and it's being run by one of the 4 healthcare funds. You can choose your own healthcare fund. They must accept you, and they provide you with a very, very good healthcare basket, by the way, including corona tests for free and including the vaccination.
At Jerusalem's Arena Sports Stadium, Israelis seemed pleased with the efficient vaccination campaign, although less pleased with the lockdown and upcoming election.
It's highly organized. From the time we walked in till we were inoculated took 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. It's been wonderful.
I don't think they've had the courage to make some of the decisions that they needed to have made. But so as far as the vaccinations are concerned, they've handled it very well.
It is ironic that as we had positive news about what people are calling the beginning of the end of the pandemic, that we were then hit over the head with this scourge of a fourth election, where I am doubtful that results will be any better.
In the upcoming March election, Prime Minister Netanyahu hopes Israelis will remember the successful vaccination campaign more than the economically destructive 3 lockdowns. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers have found the sharpest increase in symptoms of depression is among Asians living in the United States. VOA's Veronica Valderas Iglesias reports.
Nearly a year after the first cases of COVID-19 were confirmed by the government in Wuhan, China, Asians in the U.S. tried to go about their daily lives. As a group, they had the lowest frequency of depression symptoms before the pandemic, but that has changed dramatically.
I feel horrible, this is like the biggest disaster, probably like ever since I lived. So just seen on the news, a lot of people are dying, but there's some people like around me has died and diagnosed with like COVID-19, and it's like awful,
No racial or ethnic group has been spared from a rise in depression during the pandemic. But in April, researchers at the Boston University School of Public Health found a 5-fold increase of depressive symptoms among Asians, compared to just a 3-fold rise overall.
Exposure to stressors, having a household family member losing a job, having difficulty paying rent, these were associated with depression, and persons who identified as non-Hispanic Asian were more likely to experience those stressors.
There are many hypotheses.
The World Health Organization hopes to travel soon to Wuhan to investigate the widespread belief that the virus originated there. But many Americans already blame China for the virus, and some have targeted Chinese and Asian Americans with racial scorn, adding to the collective stress.
At school, I felt it. At my school, we had like a bunch of international kids from China come right around February, March, beginning of this year, and I felt like they were being very attacked.
Language matters. Previous research shows that discrimination, particularly based on racial or ethnic identity, is harmful to health and mental health.
Although the spike in depressive symptoms is highest among Asians, Hispanics had the highest proportion of people with depressive symptoms, 34%. Younger people and low-income Americans reported similar levels in the researcher survey. When it comes to Asian Americans, what's needed is solidarity, not finger-pointing, says Allison Holman, a nursing and psychology professor.
Help people cope so that they can actually engage in the kinds of behaviors and processes that are needed to get rid of to what we call flatten the curve of the pandemic and protect people's health, the public health.
As the holiday season approaches, Holman anticipates additional mental stress.
People are going to be holed up in their homes. It's going to be critical for us to be contacting people, calling each other, calling friends and family to help mitigate some of the symptoms of depression or isolation and loneliness that they may experience.
Vietnamese Tung Ong agrees on the importance of having strong family ties to boost morale.
Talk to your family, even though don't see them, FaceTime, Skype, that helps. Keep in touch with everybody. And this shall be over soon.
Veronica Valderas Iglesias for VOA News, Falls Church, Virginia.
A 7-year-old Ugandan boy has become a sensation in his country with his precocious display of aircraft knowledge and birding flying skills. Emma McCarthy reports.
He may only be 7 years old, but Graham Shema's dreams are sky high.
In future, I want to be a pilot and an astronaut. I was interested in astronomy because I wanted to go to Mars and the moon.
Inspired by his idol SpaceX founder Elon Musk, Graham has already flown as a trainee 3 times on a Cessna 172 aircraft, leading to him becoming a sensation in Uganda, where he's been invited to meetings by the transport minister and the German ambassador.
Pinching up is like this. It's like this.
Shema's curiosity for flight came after a freak accident. When he was 3 years old, a police helicopter flew so low to the ground that it blew off the roof of his grandmother's house on the outskirts of Kampala while he was playing outside. His mother says from that day forward, he's been interested in aviation, and last year he began lessons at home on aircraft parts and aviation vocabulary. After 5 months of coursework, he started practical lessons. Flight instructor Simon Bruno says his passion for flight will inspire others.
Captain Shema, I see him as one of the exceptional pilots who is going to inspire the whole world, who is going to inspire the coming generation, the kids, and is going to inspire and challenge the status quo, the adults. So Captain Shema, he's passionate about flying. He likes about flying.
That was Emma McCarthy of Reuters reporting. Some Nigerians are finding ways to spread joy during the holiday season while observing precautions against the spread of COVID-19. They are organizing remote caroling and singing from their balconies. Timothy Obiezu reports from Abuja.
Oluwabukunmi, Odebunmi and her husband are serenading their Abuja neighborhood with hymns and carols on Christmas Eve.
We've had a challenge in here, but we must move on. And we just thought that bringing people together, to sing some of these hymns would gladden their heart and really put them in the Christmas mood.
This week, Nigerian authorities announced the country is officially experiencing a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic after cases surged and mortality rates increased in December, days ahead of the Christmas and Yuletide celebrations. The government immediately reimposed restrictions on large gatherings until March and urged citizens to observe the rules. But this remote caroling is helping many people get into the spirit of Christmas while keeping safe.
You have a lot of people observing from their balconies and their houses, basically. So since we couldn't have that large gathering, we just thought to have something very concise.
Nigeria has recorded more than 80,000 coronavirus cases since its first case in late February. Last week, the country recorded its highest daily infections from the disease. Authorities say the new wave is spreading fast and could be more lethal. Nigeria is targeting the first quarter of next year for the coronavirus vaccines to be available to citizens. But Kunle Olobayo, a pharmaceutical research expert at the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, says it will take longer before the vaccines are widely available.
Maybe looking at nothing earlier than 2022, 2023, here in Nigeria and most parts of Africa.
While millions may be shut out of holiday parties and family gatherings this season, some, like the Odebunmis, are finding ways to cheer the season and raise spirits. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thank you for watching.